Hey guys, it's Ryan with Fluid Health bringing you another episode of Science Powered Fitness. Today we're going to talk about recovery. Recovery is a really important variable when you're talking about training, and it's really going to be the distinguishing factor on whether or not you guys see gains or you see adaptations. And it really has to do with the level of intensity that you're subjecting the body to. And really the way that we classify recovery is based on the type of work that you're doing and how long it takes your body to recover from that type of work. So it really falls into three basic categories, and those categories are what we wanted to share with you today. So a lot of times people ask questions like, okay, I'm going to do this activity and how long do I have before it recovers, before I can do it again? How do I pair this with additional activities like other training modalities? So I might do strength training on Monday and do a cardio session on Tuesday, do a yoga session on Wednesday. So how does this all pair together? And ultimately it has to do with how much degradation you're putting on the tissue. Is this a mechanical relationship that you're adapting, a neural or a metabolic? And again, how long does it take the body to physiologically recover from the breakdown that you're subjecting the body to? So there's really three categories, and I've driven this off on the board today, so I want to just share that with you. So really the three basic categories on what would be an intensity line. So this y-axis here, right here, is basically establishing what, or x-axis, is going to establish what your intensity range is. So down here is more of like the long endurance, 2 minutes plus time under tension on a muscle or a grouping of muscles. And this is more of the 1 rep max down here. So just remember that's a time under tension and again, percentage of 1 rep max line or gradient. So what we have down here on the back end on the right side is stability endurance. And so that's really doing time under tension of 2 minutes or greater. You're really working more of the metabolic demand for the tissue. So again, mitochondria, blood flow circulation, stored fats within the muscle, really the metabolic component of the energy balance where we're using more oxidative phosphorylation, but very limited tissue breakdown. There's a very limited neural adaptation, so we're not going to fatigue the central nervous system. And again, it doesn't take very long to recover, so about 24 hours to 48 hours depending on your conditioning. So this is almost like an active recovery or more for stability and endurance. Now as we get into heavier lifting, and again time under tensions of roughly about 32 seconds to about 1 minute and 20-ish, well we're going to see again fatigue or failure within that time frame. Right, that's going to be more mechanical. We're going to actually get into the filaments, and that's why they call it hypertrophy or trophy, the opposite of atrophy, so the breakdown of tissues. So essentially we're breaking it down and then building it up. It becomes hyper. And so that's much more about the mechanical or the myofibril. So it's a lot more tissue degradation, and because of which it takes longer. So there is more tissue damage, and because of the strain on the tissue, there's a big profound hormonal response. So growth hormone, again, the triggering hormones that stimulate tissue growth. Now again, you're going to use more sugars for this. It's more anaerobic, less time under tension. Again, more type 1, or excuse me, 2A and even 2B glycolytic energy systems. So slow glycolytic energy systems. So a power endurance, a lot of tissue, sugar burning, and again, it takes about 3 days to recover from that. Now finally, we get into more of the max efforts in the speed power category. This is closer down to that 5-6 rep range, down to a 1 rep max. Now we got a neural component. Again, this is about motor pool recruitment. How many muscles can you recruit with one burst? Are you doing an efficient job of that? You're getting good innervation of the tissue, the dendrites splitting off and acting on those motor fibers and pulling those fibers into the contraction. Again, it's a high degree of fatigue on the central nervous system. So not just locally, but the whole nervous system as a whole, and the body can fatigue. And again, it uses the phosphagen energy system. So again, the top end anaerobic energy system, quick bursts, think less than 10 seconds, run away from a predator, or again, fight something off. So a gauge threat response. And once again, using that top end creatine phosphate energy system, 3 days plus, sometimes 5-7 days, depending upon how hard or how much load you put on it. If you're doing these repetitions of 1 to 5 and doing really heavy lifting, it takes a while for the nervous system to recover from that. So once again, guys, we just want to give you some framework to look at when you're making a decision on how you're going to pair your exercise intensities. So if you're doing a high neural adaptation and you see a fatigue factor that sets in for longer during the week, and then you start doing volume training on another day, is your body going to be prepared for the load, for the endurance when you get into a long run? So it's trying to get a grip on how you pair your intensities with your recoveries and your refeeds and nutrition. If you want more information on this, please reach out to us at adamant@fluidhealthandfitness.com. Remember, your body is designed to move, so stay in motion. And remember, recover properly between the bouts of motion so you can get the most out of your workouts. We'll see you soon.